Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Southampton, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Greg Elliott, and as always, today joined by my good friend, wonderful co-host, Sakingo Finch. How you doing, mate?
Mate, we won a game. Not only did we win a game, we won the first game of our season.
Right.
We
Look,
didn't. Not a single forward scored, but it turns out we don't need them to.
Look, we have now equalled our tally of games won at home from last year.
Mate, the fact that it was November, and I think long-time listeners will remember that I had to, I alluded that I had to have a little medical procedure done on that day, and that was the only good thing about my day, and the game wasn't even that good.
Honestly, but look, football's back. We're back.
Oh, it is
mate.
back, baby.
And I'm
Holy
telling you
mackerel.
now, you heard it here first. A couple of weeks ago, I said it. Only 45 more wins to bring my prediction home.
Look, mate, I called the score. I was right. Let's get this out of the way early doors. Right, so you've got an apology to make, and I've got an apology to make. My apology is the fact that in my match preview, I said that we would give away a goal due to a defender error. I didn't say Ronnie Edwards, and admittedly, that was a Stonewall pen, right?
Having watched it back, I'm in agreement.
You messaged me soft because you saw it from him running at you. I saw it from the TV, mate. Pushed him in the back. He lost his head a little bit. He's a young lad. Doesn't matter. I said that it would be our classic Jack Stevens would give away a goal, because that is what he did twice in preseason. To be fair, that would be continue the trend. But no, he came out today. He came out to the pitch on Saturday. He showed his captain's credentials. He put in a really good performance, just as a number one, some really good interceptions. There were some. I know we've talked about Bazunu. We'll talk about. Well, we haven't, but there's been talk about Bazunu. There's been talk about Ryan Manning, who we'll get to. There's been talk about Stevens' goal, but some of the interceptions that Stevens made had to be millisecond perfect, and he made them. So
I only saw him make one mistake all afternoon, and I cannot criticise him for that mistake, because although it was a slightly misplaced pass, it was a pass where, had it not been intercepted, we would have been clear through past their entire line. That's exactly the sort of attacking pass we want to see, and sometimes when they're that aggressive, they're not going to come off.
Where I'm at, we were worried. You weren't. You less so, to be fair, than I was. That giving him, 3 years is a long time. I feel like he instantly earned a year, maybe two, maybe all three with that one win, because that was
what better way to silence critics than a 96-minute winner?
Yeah, no, that's where I'm at. And if we count amongst those critics, I try to think that we're fair and we just kind of go off of the basis of what we see.
Yeah.
But, we also said we're 100% open for redemption arcs. And if that was captain material, that was him taking off his badge and showing why he was captain. And do you know what? Fair play. It was beautiful. It was a game won off of grit and determination, and completely upsetting.
Completely last season. It was great. And right, and look, whilst we're on it, you're right, I have an apology to make too, because despite and having said this myself, despite being one of our most consistent players last season, we got a free kick in a promising position. Ryan Manning put the ball down, and my exact words were, "Manning? Oh, anyone but him, please." And, man, boy, did I eat those words a few seconds later.
I was the same. So I get to go to the game, but I was unfortunately dragged into town for something separate, which is entirely my own poor scheduling. And what it resulted is my wife sitting with me in the restaurant version of Quackers, watching it in the bar section as I was glued to the television, having a whale of a time, whilst she sat and had a coffee and just relaxed, really. But I was sat there. I turned to her and went, "You watch. He's going to sky that completely. There's no way that's going in." And then it went in, and I was just, what sort of miracle did we do? Oh, mate, it was just.
It was
I'm still buzzing off it.
And now look,
still buzzing off it.
Let's get this right. If the wall had have jumped or something, maybe it's not as good. But frankly, no keeper is saving that once it's past the wall. It's an unbelievable strike. What a goal!
It's the fact, like he's taken a lot of set pieces, right? Since James Ward-Prowse left, he became sort of like corner taker. Supposedly had like a really good delivery into the box. We weren't really,
I mean, we saw that after the free kick, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because it was, Damien Downs gets what's being called the assist. I don't think that's slightly generous, but
I feel like if it rolls off your knee, it's not really the assist, is it? But
frankly, it's more concerning that he didn't parry it in the back of the goal. But what a ball in from Manning. Jack Stevens got there and bundled it in, and what more can you ask for? Limbs in the end. It was just unbelievable.
So they go, there's 6 minutes of non-stop us gushing about that game, mate, because let's face it, we just needed it. Everyone in the Saints fan base needed that. Like every single member, needed that win. I don't care if it was scrappy. The fact it was scrappy means we found a way to win it. And that's what matters.
That is all that matters. And look, the relief and the celebration was palpable. Like it was felt around the ground. It was brilliant.
And do you know what was even crazier, Greg? We slightly changed the tactics to fit the situation.
Mad, isn't it? Like
it's
bringing on substitutions that make an impact.
I couldn't be us, mate. Couldn't be us. I think we should probably at some point talk about the actual starting 11, because obviously we were both a bit surprised. Arguably as much as it was 5 at the back, it was 3 at the back, right?
Yeah,
a lot of the criticisms.
I think it's generous to call either Wellington or Sugawara a fullback. They are at best wing backs, right? So
100%. And Wellington didn't have the greatest of games. I don't think he had the worst. I think that fair play to Wrexham. Like they came in, they decided what their tactics were going to be. They played pretty well. They had they've got some. I think Kiefer Moore's already made an impact, right? Josh Windass has made an impact. They've already got players that are making impact. So it was kind of mad that, the game ended up going the way it did. And it wasn't their most attacking performance, but they pretty much, I'm not going to lie, Greg, lined up exactly the way that Ken said they would. And it's mad that we managed to both land on sort of the fact there was going to be 2-1, right? Like me and Ken had sort of agreed on that. You decided to go for a third.
Yeah.
But it was mad. And like, I think I don't know, I was surprised by the lack of Matty Fernandez starting, but he came on and obviously made an impact. I was surprised. I think a lot of people were surprised by Fraser starting. I think he was one of our better players. I think that he ran, a lot. Quashie is got a lot to learn. There were a couple of times where I expected him to lose his head.
He didn't have the best game.
He's also so tall.
and let me tell you, that boy can throw a ball.
Yeah, good lord.
That is, if we don't score from one of those long throws, and the problem is that most of those long throws were aimed at Adam Armstrong and Ryan Fraser, who, bless their hearts, are not the. Let's just say they're not tall Paul and they're not Ross Stewart.
They're not, which is ironic.
Those tall throws were crying out for Ross Stewart to be on the end of them. Absolutely crying out for it. It just... Look, they're lethal. They're flat. Honestly, I feel like we're in a similar situation as in the back in the Delap days, where at some point we're going to see keepers putting out for a corner because they're easier to defend, because they look horrible to play against.
Yeah, it is absolutely mad. And I just think that Shea Charles had an absolute bang game.
Yeah.
Flynn Downs, a bit iffy. Got yellow carded, though. I feel like if anyone put their bet on,
that was a soft yellow as well. That wasn't a classic Flynn Downs yellow. That was soft. I presume that he said something that deserved it because it looked like it was for dissent. But yeah.
Jay Robertson got his start and played really well as well.
It
was one of the few players that didn't get substituted.
Yeah,
Pretty
look,
much the only
look, we
attacking
talked
player bar
about
Fraser.
last year managing Tyler Diblin's minutes and how much of a concern it was, but that boy did not stop running for the full 90. He didn't show any signs of tiredness or fatigue. Look, how nice was it to see a team that looked fit fought the 96th minute? Like that, we had 24 shots.
That's nuts for us, isn't it?
I don't think we had 24 shots total last season.
You're not wrong.
Like I remember doing episodes last year, 2 or 3 episodes where I was like, we didn't register a single shot on target and we only had 3 shots overall.
Oh God, you're
I'm
right.
like, you don't remember the tagline was, if you don't kick the ball at the goal, you don't win.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Because
we had Ryan Fraser nearly score in the opening minutes. We had one cleared off the line. We had a good save. We had one that bounced off the inside of the post and then got cleared off the line and then took a deflection. Like, we couldn't have got closer to scoring a goal without scoring a goal for the entire game. Like, it was relentless. It was coming. I mean, we had 75% possession and not like a Russell Martin 75% possession. Like, we had the ball in their half.
And us Rangers are now finding out what that means. Mate, I will. We haven't even talked about Baz yet. We've not even talked about the referees yet. And also,
we'll get to that.
We're about 5 minutes late for wherever adverts.
You're right. Look, let's pause there for a minute and have a message from our partners at Bioniq.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Okay, and we're back. Let's start with some more positives, Zach. Let's talk about Bazunu.
Yes.
That's a game-winning save, because if it's
100%.
2-0, it's a different story, right?
100%. And like, I think that my concern's never necessarily been about his ability and more about his fitness. I know there are a lot of people who were concerned out there. I still remember it being, we had the fans forum, which we were going to potentially do an episode covering, but there wasn't enough to talk about.
Oh, really? It was all a bit wishy-washy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit okay. They some of the questions were very just like, okay, fine. Yes, we're in the process maybe of selling Dibling. We will try and get money for him. Let's see if we can ask that question 10 times.
If you want to spend £30 million on a player, you have to spend £8 on chips. That sort of thing.
Look. Let's not get into businessmen do not understand how normal people live their lives. My point was, you didn't cover the fan forum, but I distinctly remember the first fan forum Russell Martin was in. Somebody stood up and got really what about our goalkeeping situation? We're in a really, really bad position. And credit to Martin back then, basically went, no, not. We've got a really good goalkeeper. What are you chatting about? And then Baz was our primary goalkeeper for most of the championship season until he got injured. And he conceded some silly goals, but also part of that was due to the way that we played. So I'm not really as upset by it. Yeah, okay, he's had a rough loan spell, but to come back into the side and know what the expectations are.
He's also really young. Let's not forget, he's like 22, something like that.
Yeah, he's not, especially for a goalkeeper. He's basically most goalkeepers by this point haven't even started their career.
And we've got a really experienced goalkeeping coach in Ruben Martinez, who you did a beautiful profile on, and he seems to be, like you say, that was never really with his ability anyway, because he did some slightly silly things, but also he was being made to play a brand of football that exposes a goalkeeper, frankly. When you're knocking it about in your own third, that is, the goalkeeper's the one that's always going to be the one who's the last before the sticks. But look, he made a fantastic save. Sure, like, we'll see as the season goes on if he is good enough, I'm sure. But you're right. He put in a great performance.
I think,
He did what was called on him.
yeah, I think all our players relatively, as I said, there's a few iffy performances, but like the fact that we can go, oh, this person didn't play great, and this person was a bit rough around the edges, in comparison to last season where it was like the entire team did nothing for 90 minutes and then we conceded a goal.
Like, look, exactly. And look, we're not out here saying that this was like a polished, perfect performance, but like it was just such a relief to see a bit of fight, a bit of grit. Wrexham in the second half sat back and made it more difficult because by sitting back, we had to push more people forward to try and find the gaps and break the lines. And then, they caught us on the counter, which is exactly what Ken said they would be dangerous with. And, they were. And there were a couple that were offside. But before we move on more, let's talk about how awful that referee was.
Oh, do we just want to get into it? Right.
Yeah, I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off, mate. And to be clear, I think in both directions at some point.
Both directions. So bringing back a segment that I like to call Talking to My Friend James Peach, where me and James haven't spoken for a while, and then I suddenly got a text out the blue from him today because he watched the highlights and was like, oh, good, I could go back to talking to Zach about how awful Saints are. But he basically was kind of like, I'm very surprised that Jay Robinson didn't get sent off or at least get a yellow. And I'm like, yeah, I am surprised by that. I'm also surprised that they had they literally kicked the ball directly. we kicked the ball directly at a hand. It hit the hand in front of the referee, and that also wasn't a penalty. The amount of fouls that we committed that apparently were all worthy of stoppages and free kicks is one of the reasons that they had such a heartbreaking 97th stoppage time, losing goal, because of the amount of stoppage time that had to be added on for all of, the messing about and stuff. But it was just like, okay, maybe VAR would have picked it up. Okay, maybe VAR would have picked up the rest of it.
But it was both ways. We should have had about 3 penalties. They probably should have had a second penalty later in the game.
Mm-hmm.
There was about 20 free kicks that should have been given either way. There's the new rule, right, where the goalkeeper is only allowed to hold the ball for a certain amount of time before it's a corner. And so now you'll see the referee stick their hands up in the air and start counting down from 5 before they give a corner, which is great, except he kept stopping at 3. Like, it would pause at 3, then remember what he was doing, then go 2, then go 1. And, it was painful. It just felt like he had no control, got so many decisions wrong, and in both directions, that we got lucky some of the time. In the first half, he didn't seem to want to give anything. My sister-in-law, who I go to games with, was convinced that money had changed hands because it's a better story for Wrexham to get promoted. I'm not going to be throwing around accusations quite to that degree. I feel like perhaps there might be some subconscious level of, if I make a dodgy decision against these, I'm going to end up in a Disney documentary that might throw them, that way. But yeah, it was poor. It was really, really poor.
It really was, and like, you're right. One of the things that the refereeing was atrocious, but like on top of that, Greg, it was you didn't have to part with any, like, I watched it on Sky. You didn't have to part with any of the commentary. And I kind of wish that I could have just sat and listened to the radio whilst I was watching it. Unfortunately, I was in a bar. Mate, the state of the commentary. I was just like, you would think that it's almost like it's the same love-in that the BBC have with Manchester United, right? Where for somehow, considering that Manchester United are arguably at this point a club that are in 16th, finished 16th. Okay, let's say what they are. They're not in the Champions League, they're not in the Europa League, but yet their proportion of coverage on the BBC is nuts. And I understand that, and I understand it's a lovely story, and it's like it's going to be absolutely insufferable when they play Birmingham. And we've talked about how it's a lovely story, and I think for fans like Ken, who I think someone pointed out he doesn't have a Welsh accent, doesn't mean that he's not supported Wrexham for a long time, I promise you. Yeah. However, there were quite a few sort of old Welsh fans. There were some people that I was just like, I don't want to accuse you of being a plastic fan, but also There are vibes that sometimes are given off, and like we arguably same could be said about us. So I don't want to start throwing stuff around, and I don't want to throw our toys out the pram because we also won the game. But it was like being painted as the villain was extremely bizarre. Like it was heartbreak for Wrexham as a heartbreak for Wrexham, which a lead they held on to, for a long time by just sitting back on it. And the other problem, and I know that we've also
they spent a lot of time just time wasting and doing the dark arts. It's not like they were like what a lovable Wrexham throwing himself on the floor and pretending to have cramp.
That draw against City, we did the same thing, and we were we had City fans say, so I'm not going to like mug them off for trying to do that, but like to try and paint the narrative of it's going to be hard for them, I think, to deal with I think it's going to be hard to deal with the vitriol they're used to it. But like, I think there's some bigger stadiums now, some bigger fan bases, some probably more, and then like somebody mugging us off for celebrating it like it's a cup final, only to be told that we hadn't won a game since November, like at home, and then they were like, "Oh, actually, I kind of feel bad," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, so." Maybe I should just not fling mud at all. They're a good set of fans. It's just that...
But they were loud. It was good.
They were. It was just, again, I think it's just
they were
narratives
loud.
around it.
What I have to say is that they were loud. It was a fantastic atmosphere. And despite the loud and the banter back and forth, before and after the game, just milling about with mixing the fans, good vibes, fans chatting between them. It was great. It was the perfect start of the season experience, and I can assure you that in a month's time that there's going to be a game where that's not going to be the same experience, but it's going to be just as much fun.
Wow, you were joking about, what was it, the idea that what happens if we end up getting into the playoffs with them? How would they deal with that? We'd blow the entirety of like Hampshire County Council's budget. Like, what would they do?
Mate, can't wait to pay twice my council tax next year just because we've got playoffs.
just thinking, like, I just think they'd end up doing it a bubble game at one of our stadiums, I think they would have to skip Wembley because there's absolutely no way they could police that. It would be insane. And when you start to think about those things, you do wonder. But
someone might have had to have those conversations already. But as the season plays out, I mean, I don't want to credit those down the road too highly, but it's not like it's the Championship. It's not outside the realms of possibility.
Yeah,
there are 19 teams in the Championship that could end up in those playoff spots. Let's be honest.
And that is the problem. Like, we almost saw a bit of an upset today with Sheffield Wednesday, and then parity was quickly restored. I think we'll talk about that when we do a bit of a catch up on the Championship in general, at least the first weekend. But yeah, as I said, it's not really disrespect hugely to Wrexham fans. I think it was nice party atmosphere, and I think that maybe they're just enjoying being here and they're not as bitter as we are yet, and all that lovely stuff. But again, it's just the narrative around it can get quite draining, and it's like you're going to eventually turn all of the other clubs into the Joker if you keep treating it like the Joker. Like, sometimes you can talk things into reality, and like, if they don't have this fairy tale season and it goes wrong for them and everyone gets mad and they don't get it all, it would be, I don't know how they'll play that out in the media. It'll be interesting to see either way. But anyway,
we need to let's have a break and then we'll come back and talk more about the game. We've got a few more talking points.
Other stuff.
But, time for a message from our partners at Zencastr. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencastr came out the clear winner with 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description and learn more about Zencastr. Okay, and we're back. So, I mean, what else have we got to talk about?
Well, there's a couple of things I want to talk about, Greg. So, our total passes for that game was 609 in comparison to Wrexham's 204.
Crazy.
But the other thing that I wanted to point out, Greg, was that we had the same number of fouls on both sides of the fence, right? So we committed 12 fouls. They committed 13, which, again, going back to your earlier point, you'd have thought that we were the only team on that like whole pitch that played with a bit of intensity. We were a bit rough. Yeah. But it was just, I think that the most exciting thing about it was just how how attackingly minded we were. And yes, it didn't pay off, but yes, Adam Armstrong struck it at the keeper like one too many times. But the fact that we got those shots off, and the fact that we have gone back to scoring goals, is a good thing. And I know that it basically shows that we need more reinforcements in the attacking department a little bit. Just that little bit.
I mean, look,
flair.
It's early in the season, right? It's
Yeah.
always slightly cagey until you get that third. We talked a lot last season about our strikers and how they're confidence players, and what they need is that little confidence boost to get them underway. And sometimes that's an assist, sometimes it's a goal. They just need a little spark. And I mean, let's face it, even when he scored millions of goals for us in the Championship the last time, Adam Armstrong was not a clinical finisher, right? The amount of times he misses chances or puts it at the goalkeeper, but the fact of the matter is he gets himself in positions to get those chances and to get enough that he doesn't have to be clinical to score lots of goals. And that we saw lots of it. We saw lots of attacking play. Jay Robinson kept their fullbacks getting every time, whether he was going to be cutting inside or going outside.
A couple of times he hit it, and they were lucky to save it. It wasn't anything crazy,
it wasn't a flawless performance. Like in the start of the first half, Armstrong was looking very isolated. We needed what happened is that Robinson and Fraser were sort of tending out towards the wings, and it was just leaving Armstrong completely on his own, isolated, struggling to get anywhere because they were also coming back deep to get the ball. Whereas what we really needed at that time was to sort of push them forward and slightly narrower and have the wing backs really push on and push up. And then that sort of came to a bit. I mean, Fraser was just all over the pitch. He looks in unbelievable shape. He looks in better shape than he was the last Championship season, and in better shape than we saw him in the Premiership. He looks unbelievable, fit as a fiddle, flying about all over the shot, just doing that number 10 role where he was just causing the defence a nightmare. It was great. Damien Downs, when he came on, you probably won't have seen this on TV, but that man does not stand still, which is something that a lot of our forwards were criticised for a lot last season. But he is consistently making a move every single time into pieces of space. And he didn't actually, I don't think a single time that he made those moves yesterday did that ball get played to him. But because he's always on it, the defenders, they don't get a break. He's just constantly working them. And let me tell you, from what I see from him, he's only going to take one or two of those opportunities where he does get the ball in that situation, and he's going to be dangerous because he makes them work. And with the pace that came on with Archer, and then Stewart came on, gave them something else to worry about. It's really that's a lot of different problems for a defence to have an answer to, right? Because there's such a vast array of types of player.
Yeah, I agree, and I think I saw somebody say that all they need to do is suss out our tactics, and then it'll be the same as every other season, this and the other. And I'm like, I think that's one of the nice things about Still is he's a bit more tactically astute than that.
Yeah,
and where that he doesn't have this sort of rigid, this is exactly how we're going to play. And look, you're already seeing
there wasn't a like for like change that happened, right? Like he took off maybe Sugawara for Manning, might almost be called like for like, but then Manning slotted into more of a midfield role anyway. But the rest of the changes were all. I mean, I think he mostly took off defenders and put on forwards, right?
It was Wellington for Manning, and Sugawara was taken off for Matty Fernandez, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
So Sugawara was taken off for Fernandez.
Yeah, and I mean, at that point, Fraser kind of dropped back to left back, and Matty Fernandez took on that sort of more creative pressing role. And yeah, like Flynn Downs for Archer, that's a complete change. That's a defensive midfielder for a striker. It's just Ronnie Edwards came off centre back for a striker at that point. We changed to a back four completely. And yeah, it's just nice to see that versatility. You're not just, who can we bring on because who can play in that position? We haven't got anyone who plays in that position. Better bring on Joe Aribo. It's just
one of the absentees for today, along with, I keep saying today. It's felt like just one big long day because of just how the buzz from that game, mate, that will live with me for at least the rest of the week. And Yeah, like, Aribo, Dibbling, two of the ones that are kind of still futures are in doubt, are Dozy as well. But I think we proved that we've still got quite a big squad, and that isn't as bad as I think people think it is. And that includes myself. Like, was worried about a lot of Deadwood, and to be honest, I think that if you'd asked me beginning of preseason, one of the people that I would have said we needed to go immediately, I probably would have said Ryan Fraser. So,
Yeah.
This is again why we are not football managers. We are two, guys. I'm a big guy. I just like football. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not, but I don't pretend to be an expert. We don't pretend to, we have opinions, and for sure. But like, I'm not an expert, and sometimes these people who are prove us wrong because they know what they're talking about. And it's nice that sometimes these people that are experts, mate, are actual experts, and it doesn't feel like with Jurich where you're like, mate, you're right. Like,
right, we are quickly and rapidly running out of time, but I've got two more points that I would like to touch on before we go.
Go, mate.
I have seen some criticism thrown Matty Fernandez's way because when he came on, he wasn't the most inspiring of performances. I don't think he was bad though, but also, is he not just freshly coming back from a knock? He's like not even been back in full training for a week. So should we really be surprised that he wasn't suddenly like back to full fitness and the best player on the pitch? I don't think that that's reasonable.
He turned up and played, mate.
What more can you ask for?
They brought him on. Like, I don't know. Again, it's this whole thing of it's like owed loyalty to a club is just not how football is nowadays.
Yeah.
And like the fact that he might end up going because somebody might put in a silly bid for him.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's willing to carry on and play if not, and has that mental strength, because there is a lot of mental strength with it. I can also understand why Diblin, being as young as he is, a lot of criticism thrown his way for not playing. I can understand that's some big decisions you need to make with your life when you are that age, with some big money involved, with some big life changing stuff. It doesn't. I know that you could talk about football of privilege, and it's one of the things that we've had episodes on at this point. But it doesn't stop that from mentally impacting people as a human being. And I think it was the same thing that was summed up about Jack Stevens. With he hears it all. He is a human being.
Yeah,
like you could tell.
That's what you could tell. That goal was shout of relief. Unbelievable.
Yeah, you could tell the fact. The fact he's tapping the captain's badge means that he is aware that people have had those thoughts. And as I said, we ourselves have questioned that. So where I'm at is that Matty Fernandez could have just not played. Probably would have had a leave of absence if he'd requested it, but he didn't.
He played, right, played, put a shift in. And to be fair, he put a shift in. He ran a lot. He did like some single man pressing for some of that game, like just classic. The second point I wanted to very quickly touch on is that it kind of beautifully encapsulates the impact that he had and what I hope we can see from the versatility and ability to change that Will Steele is bringing, and that is Ryan Manning played for 20 minutes and one man of the match. I mean, to be fair, goal and an assist.
Yeah, goal and assist. What can you want?
Yeah,
like that's he comes on, but that again shows you the level of impact, and I think that was where Phil Parkinson was talking about how. They've got a bench that's really expensive. Like how we did last season with like Man U and stuff. And arguably that's true, but considering that they had 8 brand new signings in that front line, maybe they should, quieten down a little bit.
Yeah.
But on top of that, there are a lot of players that if someone had come in for like $1 million for Manning at the beginning of this, beginning of preseason, a lot of people probably would have taken that. And it was only, we didn't think he would be as good as he was in the Premier League. But you're right. The fact that you can make a change that late in the day that has that much of an impact from somebody that that nobody really expected that impact to come from shows you hopefully signs of good things to come 100%. From the game. I was just buzzing, mate. I was just happy.
I am.
It's good.
I was, and then I got stuck in traffic on the way home, and then because it was an early kickoff, my body was confused. So I got home and looked at the clock, and it was 4:10, and I was ready for bed. I was done. So what do you mean it's not 6 o'clock? I've been at the football. Like it must be later than this. Definitely had a solid power nap to get through the rest of the evening. But
it's just been like that.
Look, we won a game at home. The atmosphere was buzzing. and, 1 win down, 45 more to come. I didn't even remember that we have a cup game Tuesday.
Oh, well, we'll have some more football to talk about. Maybe we'll see some of the other players get a look in, and maybe we'll get some fight for places.
Well, maybe it'll be another one of those games like that round last time in the Championship where we played 14 players where we never saw any of them again. Who knows?
I don't think we'll have a Gillingham game, mate, but we'll see.
We'll wait and see. Look, we will be back to talk about that. We'll be back tomorrow with transfer news. Transfer Tuesday's everyone's favourite day of the week. Until then, let us know on all the socials. How happy were you with this week's performance? And what are your expectations for the rest of the season now? How high can it really go? Let us know. We can't wait to hear it. We are on all the socials. We're on Facebook, X, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Let us know in the comments.
Good job, mate. That was all of them.
That was it. Oh, yeah, I forgot. It's all right. Like I say, thank you very much for listening, Zach. As always, thank you for joining me. We'll be back tomorrow, but until then, we won at home.
Hey!
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.